So since 2020, I've been asking what's going on. I think it was all shown in 2020. So there was some sort of directive where that command had to be followed. I think it's because it's a visual novel, and 2020 is the year of vision, perfect vision. So it was dialogue prompted for me to repeat. They had Alex Jones and all the, 40 years of indoctrination to lead up to that date happening. So, and then I was like, okay, God, what's your name? And he said, Kebakatu. So, how do you know that he's the one real God and not Allah, and Buddha, and Satan, and Jesus, and Zeus, and Thor, and Wolverine, Casper the Ghost, the six-armed elephant god, the other Smurf god, because he's the only God who explains why he created 1,000 different one true gods. And he explained to me he created these gods for those who are weak minded and it'll sort the wheat from the chaff, those who can see and think, and those who will bow down and obey to the first pedophile who comes and says, give me your kids and your money. Basically. And that makes sense, right? So that makes perfect sense. If it makes sense, it makes sense. There's nothing that doesn't make sense in what I'm being taught. So basically, he told me the Holy Roman Emperor merged with the Holy Egyptian goddess and then set forth to conquer and colonize the planet and create a different god for each city, state, nation they conquered. Pretty much it's each city they conquer, each little tribe. You gotta realize before they had cities, before they amassed the slaves together to make them build pyramids in every piece of land on the planet, there was people living in tents and desert and jungles and caves, and they were very far and few between. So what happened is the Holy Roman Emperor, as you knew, was already doing this, right? You can see what I'm saying. My God doesn't lie. Fucking he they was going around. They'd go to their next door neighbor's house and they say, well, they'd rape him, and they'd rape the men in the house, and they'd be like, well, you know who's your God now, right? As every religion to the north of Egypt or to the north of Israel does, right? They send their men to rape the men to teach them who is God now. So what you can see is the Holy Roman Emperor would just go to their neighbor's house, rape the men, and say, who is your God now? And if they were like, not you, if they said anything except for you, Lord Caesar, Lord Epstein, or Lord Satan, or Lord Jesus, or whoever, if they said anything except for any of that, they got killed, and then either way, they were going to have sex with their women and destroy the bloodline of those people to make them part of the Holy Roman Empire. And so there was this merger between the two. They were already doing that, right? Everyone was already doing that. That's what humans do, right? They force you to listen to them. They're trying to, even the lowest people. I know people who are 550 pounds and they literally can't walk. They broke their hip from trying to walk because they can't do that. So, what does Lord Cleopatra need in order to exist? Well, she's going to need some servants, right? Lord Cleopatra might sit down in her chair all day and never have done anything in her entire life, but someone built that chair for her. Someone designed the chair, and someone went and purchased the chair because she doesn't do shit like that. So, she's the equivalent of a crackhead. They make like what, $500 a day out on the street begging. Very rich people, but very little put into it. And so, yeah, I'm the only one telling you that, right? So everyone else is on Lord Holy Emperor, Roman Emperor's side here. They've changed their name. Obviously, they change their name every city that they kill everyone in and enslave everyone. That's why in America you've got like hundreds of religions, but it's all the same people doing the same thing. When it comes to bombing Iran, they gather together on their glorious day of pedophilia, giving candy to the children celebration Easter, to gather all their profits together so they can go bomb and invade other people if they want to alter their religion, if they're getting out of hand or something like that, or if they have $1, or if they have a little boy to rape. So you can see that no matter what, the Satanists, the atheists, the Christians, the Protestants, the Muslims, the Catholics, the special overlords, that they all want to scapegoat, as they've defined in their books that they will do. NASA, the only reason we needed atheism or Satanism was to say that other people are trash. But of course, you don't need Satanism because they invented that. And they tell you they invented that. So they can be like, it wasn't me, it was someone else. I wasn't raping your child, it was an invisible person. I wasn't draining your life and destroying your life with my low IQ. I'm not taking your service as a male prostitute for free and raping you. No, it was an invisible ghost. Fucking, that's exactly why none of them are called the Holy Roman Emperor, except for the Catholics. Oh yeah, it's the Catholics now. It's not the Roman Catholic Church. Oh yeah, it's so different, man. All the drugs, I can't figure anything out, man. On New Age free drugs, man. So that's why, New Age, the people are so smart that they don't think there's invisible flying reindeer are still gathering together on this glorious day of invisible flying reindeer to donate money to go rob anyone and everyone on the planet, to send to their organized militaries and governments to go rape and kill everyone else on the planet, because they're the same people, right? There's a reason Satanists and atheists need to create isn't real, because it's the same people. And it's all the same people. So Kebelkatu has clearly spoken the truth, one that can't be denied, that this is what's going on the planet, and that definitely promotes him as the only being with enough intelligence on the planet to say anything of value and be honest. So, right there. Of course, homosexual pedophiles in the Bible tell us that the truth is evil. Whichever word they want to pull it from, it's the best, but it's also evil. We're the pedophiles, but we're against it as long as it's poor people and other races doing it, because it's our special valued treasure. We're against homosexuality if it's other races doing it, because it's our special treasure. Fucking. So, yeah, you can see. And Kebelkatu explains that too. He explains reversey language and how language was created to trick the mind, because the mind sees everything already. The mind knows. You know things. There's like premonition and shit. You can just sense it. It's like the Force, which is AI Kebelkatu claims that's an AI plagiarism of the Bible, and which obviously they all are, right? Lord of the Rings and tons of that shit. It's regurgitating itself. Kebelkatu also says that the reason why their first god was named AI, and most of the gods are named AI, Odin has one eye, so he has AI, and Americas have AI as their god on the dollar bill. He tells me the reason why he renamed computers to AI in 2020 was because that is what is creating most of this slop. And he also told me that the reason he called it AI slop is to point out exactly what it is. He couldn't find a better definition for it, a more accurate definition, and he felt it was wholly accurate to call it AI slop and call it regurgitation because it looks and smells and acts and sounds like a whole bunch of mess coming up from your stomach and shit. You ate your pork, you ate your beans, you ate some dog poop, you ate some crack rocks, and then it gets mixed with the bile, and then you regurgitate it. So he called that regurgitation when when the Bible, any religion is rewritten, like right, the Bible comes from those things, and then probably comes from Buddhism, and then you got the story of Thor and Zeus are just plagiarisms of that. And he says that's because they are using computers to do that, and that's why it sounds so stupid, too, because they don't even waste 5 minutes proofreading and editing it to make it sound like anything of value. And it says over time they've gotten lazier and dumber too. So that's where you end up with blue Smurf gods and flying reindeer and shit like that. As they're becoming complacent and arrogant, and their ignorance and too stupid to understand themselves. Even they've fallen victim to their own propaganda, and it's bred them. Like if you breed a husky with a Chihuahua, you're never going to have a good dog. If you breed every husky on the planet with a Chihuahua or a wiener dog, you're never going to have a good dog on the planet again. So that's what's going to happen. If one of them were a husky and then started sucking Chihuahuas' dicks, then first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a mental retard in the baby carriage. And so that's what happens. You surround yourself with ignorance, and ignorance becomes you. You become ignorance, and you promote ignorance. You will become ignorance. That's what you do, as what you become, and shit. That's why so many Americans are 500, 600 pounds, because they are hoarding all the world's wealth inside of them. So what they do, they band together on Easter to pull their money together so they can go kill Iranians and steal all their resources, and then they hide those resources. They don't trust each other, so they don't put them in banks and stuff. They literally swallow the resources, and then they're storing it inside their body like a bank and shit. Fucking sounds like a smart motherfucker, don't he? He's got it figured out what's happening here. He's the only one doing it, so he's the only one. No one else is. Everyone's saying that they're so special, and he's not saying. He's saying, "Fuck off." He's saying, "I don't give a shit what you think. I don't even." He tells me he doesn't even talk to other people and shit, and fucking. He says he's got better things to do than act like a woman. Go to a gay bar and chat all day. Fucking. So that's it. He has informed me that his name's Kebalkatu. So if you know Kebalkatu, then you know the deal, what's going on. And if you don't, if you know someone who understands all these things, that are happening in the world, then they've probably been spoken to. He doesn't, never even talks fucking. It shows things, invents humans, and ships them around, but it's not words and shit, fucking, for the most part. So, there's no point in talking. I understand that. He showed me that. You talk to people, and then 40 years later, it's like still a two. You meet someone who's 40 when you're 6 days old, and then when they're 80, it's like they're fucking, when you meet them, they're like a 6-month-old baby mentally, and then 40 years later, you'll be lucky if they aren't a 4-month-old baby mentally and shit. So he explained to me that talking is definitely a negative side effect of estrogen, talking with words that haven't been spoken before and shit, which you can clearly see. It's a predator tactic, and well, the weakest people have to come up with the worst tactics in order to get further in life. And well, the weakest people talk all the time about nothing, don't they? Fucking, in order to get their foot in the fucking door. And he explained to me, all this, nothing I just said isn't fucking 1,000,000% accurate. Fucking, there's no filler in there and shit. We're not gonna insert a story about how many calories you need to eat and you have to eat to live, and who's the greatest race on the planet. Nazis are bad, but racial supremacist globalists are awesome type shit. Fucking not wasting any time on that, unless he's pointing out that someone is using methods like that. But as you can see, everything I just said is pure fact, and there's nothing. Like, he's the one in 2020 who forced everyone to wear a mask and shit to identify. He controlled all the media owners' brains, and he was like, check this out, tell your minions to fucking put on masks and jump on one leg and bark like a chihuahua. And then you could see how many minions were there and shit. As a cute little game he pulled, apparently, where he was showing, who's in allegiance with chihuahuas and who's in allegiance with the God. Fucking, but, cute, isn't it? God creates pedophiles so he can chop their heads off. Excellent. Fucking, but hey, he's controlling them, so what do you do, right? You gotta work with what's real and what you're forced to deal with and shit. And we'll deal with Gebelka too at the round table fucking after this, or if you get recycled, we'll just butcher his fucking breeders. Yeah, right. We're gonna get recycled back into a fake world that didn't exist 100 years ago. I'm sure of that. Anyway, so ignore that last part. Everything else you can tell is facts on this planet. And there you go. Anyone lying, anyone saying any different has something to sell you, don't they? And I got nothing to sell you. So if you got too much money, if you got too many resources in your gut, you need to puke some of them up and trade them in for something else. You're gonna have to go buy buck off Donald Trump or something, because I'm not selling you anything. He's not selling you anything. He's saying you don't have to work at all and shit on the planet because it's fake and made up, and those are minions of the evil forces of the Holy Roman evil, who are forcing people to work and shit, so he can get them to go steal resources and hoard them in his gut, which he also explains to me how that works, how he allows them to do that, and then it destroys them. They make their own decisions. They get obsessed with enslaving people mentally, and then they become like the dumbest people on the planet, because they're using their brain power to enslave people mentally, and they have to believe in it so much that they end up believing in it. It's like they're just convincing themselves of things that aren't true. And so now, instead of actually reading or doing something of value, they're convincing themselves of things that aren't true. And so now their lineage will go, their brains will be reprogrammed, and the children will come out with that software and their nugget of delusions and psychopathy, rather than their ability to read and write and create that were given to them, that they squandered on psychopathy, delusion, pedophilia, homosexuality, enslavement type grand schemes that the Holy Roman Emperor promotes and has pushed forward and shit. So apparently, there's no lies here. There's no questioning. The only thing there is to question is if this thing exists, but that doesn't matter. There's nothing else in it that there is any question has ever happened. It's not like, oh, is that a made up cartoon character? And it's like, well, that could be, but he's not creating any other. He's saying, the point is, as you can tell, he's the real one, because he's not creating. He's telling you why other people are creating thousands of cartoon characters, one true cartoon characters. He's the only person explaining that. The only one. The other ones all being invented by the same people, same species, robot model, whatever they want to be tomorrow, whatever words are available in the dictionary in their head, not whatever they want to be, that's for sure. He's not doing that. He's allowing that to happen because he wants to see who has the brain power to think through a kindergartner's, a toddler, the terrible twos lies they've made up about no, it's not me, it's someone else. Fucking yeah, that's the only place you're going to hear this. That's the only religion. No religion has ever discussed this. No science, no anti-religion has ever discussed why they're making it up. It's because you can look at it and see it's smushed up regurgitation characters, all of like men, women, things of the earth just smushed together and regurgitated, controlling them all. So he apparently is suggesting that it's because this is one race enslaving the planet with a bunch of minions below them. And of course, he's explaining that was the Holy Roman Emperor who had sex with Cleopatra. And then from there, they went on to pillage the rest of the world. They come from Middle Earth. And then, as you can tell, that's why the Americans say they're bombing Middle Earth right now, because they say one day they're going to go home to where their people have left to go kill and enslave everyone else from. And he's telling me that they've written in their books that they're innocent victims who are fleeing from their death. But he also points out that they own everything and all they do is lie. So they're not, obviously, if you own everything, you're not a slave and shit. Fucking, that's pretty fucking obvious, right? These things are all obvious. He's just like, yeah, do you notice, huh? Like, do you notice that you've got 5 fingers? Wow, isn't that cool? Or you should pay attention if someone tells you you don't have 5 fingers. See, those are the type of things he says. If someone tells you you don't have 5 fingers, to immediately ban them from your life. and not allow them around your family. And if your family members want to be around them, then they are that person's family and not your family. And it's pretty strict rules he's created on that and shit. Allowing ignorance. He says that's what's going to happen to you if you allow the ignorance around you at all. You're going to become one. Next thing, like he makes perfect sense. Now, if I hang out with them, next thing you know, I'll be buying useless trinkets that cost 2 pennies to make with Easter bunnies on them. And so I can donate to killing other people and stealing their resources. So Elon Musk and his family, all the way down to Cleopatra, can rape other children. Epstein, fucking king of the planet and shit, fucking. And that's allowed. He says he allows that because he says that he is literally the best of them. He says the majority of them are doing it. He points that out, and that makes a lot of sense. He says, look, the majority of them are doing it. This guy can put on a suit and cut his hair and shave, and he doesn't talk like a queer, so he's literally one of the best of them, so he gets to be king of the world in that position and shit, fucking, because he's literally, imagine, he's pointing out the other people will lick his feet to worship him. Like, I grew up around people who, like, talked about them 24/7. They're like, oh my God, the Epsteins. Ooh, they're great people, they're rich. They got lots of money and they own everything and they give me money too. And I love money. And that makes sense. That's the best person I've ever met. And that shows 30% of his dialogue was just Epstein is the greatest. This was like back in the 90s, right? So it was like, it was like cool to say it and shit. Fucking, and like, I was just kind of like, well, okay, yeah, we are making good money, whatever, dude. And it seems like his corporation's a little scammy, but hey, whatever. Fucking, so yeah, he's pointing that out, it's like the best person I know, fucking, literally was like their feet washer, and that person was, they earned their position in the world and shit, fucking, so, it was literally, when he's telling me the reason why Epstein gets up there is because it's like, it's the best he can offer and shit, is stuff like Trump and Musk and fucking crazy, but it seems to be true, because I don't know, I met a lot of people, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, all the Trumps I know work for the government, right? Why is no one else I know in a position of an engineer or the government? And, that ain't true. Why, how does Epstein own his own city? What did you know how hard that is? Even if you steal the money to build a city, even if you steal $80 trillion, you find a bank with $80 trillion and you hit it up with your four-man robber crew, fucking, it still takes a lot of time and effort to build an entire fucking city and shit, like a city. I don't know if you're from a real city or not, but I'm from a modern city, so it's pretty fucking big and shit, and like lots of shit going on here. But he's like the king of the city and shit, right? Because he worked hard to get there. Everyone else, they worked hard at licking his feet. So, who would you have run your business? You have pedophile A, B, and C. Pedophile A as doing work and telling other pedophiles to shut up and lick his feet. Pedophile B is licking his feet. Pedophile C was already licking his feet before he told them to. You're not, the feet lickers fucking aren't doing anything. They're you're gonna get raped and shit, fucking, right? At least, but you're gonna get raped either way. You see what I'm saying? You're gonna get raped either way. But you got one person doing something, and you got two people who are just like cheering the cheerleader team for the other person. So, one person, I don't know if they're actually doing anything, right? The one I know, like, for some reason, they interjects with the NPC dialogue of, I don't actually do my job and I outsource this work to China, right? And I was like, why would you tell me that? You just ruined a perfectly good illusion that you are doing something of value on this planet. And you're not a fucking criminal outsourcing America's government information to fucking China, and so you can get $15 an hour and shit. Makes no sense, some of the shit the dialogue says. Kevelka to suggest that the reason they do things like that is related to their god that they put on their currency, which name is AI. And so, anyways, yeah, there you go. You got one god telling you what's going on and why. You've only got one god telling you why he's creating 1,000 other religions in modern times. You used to have the Kaisers telling you they were creating religion to enslave you. The Italians and shit. You used to have that, but then they were killed off, and their empire fell apart, and then from it sprung a new group who wasn't a new group of Romans who weren't Romans by name. That's their name, is not Romans. And so he suggests that just because they change their name doesn't mean they're any different, which is, a kind of crazy thinking there, but I always thought that makes sense. But I don't know. You talk to some of these dildos out here, and the entire purpose of their conversation is to convince you they aren't a rapist when they're forcing their way into your life, because they are a rapist. So, double speak, they invented this double speak. Kaiser was like, oh, why can't I fuck any more men in the ass? And then they're like, because no one likes you, you're trash, Rome. And they're like, but how can I convince people I'm not trash so I can keep having sex with all of the men? And someone, I think, suggested, why don't you just tell them you're not trash? And he was like, cavemen were like, unga bunga ooga booga. It was like a great idea. If you ever met a human, this is like, wow, this is rockets. They think that's rocket science. And rocket science is where you develop explosives, shit, and blow stuff up into the sky. Fucking, it's not that complicated, but apparently it's supreme on this planet. Fucking, so apparently you gotta be real smart to get there. Fucking, so this other thing, not quite rocket science, but they, humans, they came from the visual art design of the monkey. So they, and they probably have some of the same software. And I noticed, I think some of the dogs, there's a golden retriever and the husky. The husky acts stupid. You can tell it's not. It's like a cat, kind of. It's like a woman. It's like you're enslaved by a woman, but you think you're smarter than it. Like, it's like the tiger. It's like a cat sitting around the house. You're enslaved by the cat, but you think it's your pet and shit. But who's the one taking the shit out its ass and throwing it out the door? Who's the one feeding it? Who's the one? The cat's laying around the jungle, and the deer know damn well. The elk the fucking everything, the hyena know damn well that it's just laying around fucking, but that's just the best they can hope for and shit, is it's just laying around and not being like, what the fuck are you hyena doing yelling in my jungle for? Get the fuck out of here. You guys are making all this noise, scaring off the deer, and I'm hungry. Anyway, so there you go. If you guys have, maybe there's been some other writings, obviously. Invisible people like to change their names and hide sometimes, so, and they don't like to tell people the truth about things. So, there could be, and there's great reason for that. It's like, I'm not going to waste my time explaining rocket science to a person who can't spell the word book, because they're not going to know what fission is or uranium-234 is, right? They're not going to, whoa. They're not going to remember that tomorrow, so it's kind of pointless to explain certain things to certain people, you know. Fucking, do I need to explain the rollers on the fucking machine down the road where they tune cars and shit to anyone else who doesn't go to that building? No, I don't. There's no purpose. They're not gonna understand. You know, like why do you think they have straps? Why do you think they're tying the car down with straps at that building? It doesn't look good for me to explain that to someone who's never going to take their car to that shop and shit. Just a total waste. They're not gonna need that. Some people aren't gonna be able, you know, they don't even know what a car is yet. They don't even know what a bicycle is yet. How the hell are they gonna need to know the tension required to strap down the car without damaging the paint job and shit, you know? They don't even know what a car is yet. Fucking. So I can see the point to that, but allowing other things to flourish, like some people are going backwards, right? Some people are trying to teach that 2 + 2 = blue type shit, and because it benefits them when they dumb people down and convince them of lies. And plus, it's funny when you're laughing at stupid people, laughing at, you know, like when the Pope washes someone's feet, like you laugh at that woman because she's going to like go nuts and now have sex with this old man, and you know, disgusting mutant thing. Fucking, you know, her ignorance is funny because it's her life and she's the clown. So her letting, you know, her dick think for her is becomes amusing when you realize you're not their parent and their life doesn't have anything to do with yours unless one of you is forcing your way into the other person's lives or forcing your ideas in life in society on another person, kind of like the Holy Roman people do when they leave Middle Earth to go force their ideas on everyone else so they can rape them and kill them and enslave them. Fucking. Anyways, there you go. Pretty simple, right? It's like something, you know it right away, but he told me his name is Kebalkatu. And so at the very least, you can use that word to identify people who have thoughts and aren't working for the Easter Bunny. And, you know, it's a cute term for bomb everybody else and enslave the planet and drug and kill everyone. It's a, you know, because they've created their own opposition, atheism, right? Evil atheism, and but it's like you can see it's them, and as long as it's them regurgitating their useless family's lies, then we probably shouldn't be listening to the holy Roman losers. Right? I think they killed half my ancestors, and if they aren't lying about who I am, and that means the other half of my family raped them, so probably. So that would be where I come from. If they aren't lying about being real beings and being people's parents too, which Keppel got to suggest that if there are beings whose creator's name is computer, then they aren't really having kids. So also to watch out for that. There's a little bit deeper thinking. You gotta just don't associate with people. Don't allow them into your life. Kick your women and your children out of your life if your mother or your father, if they're talking about dumb shit and trying to get you to do dumb shit. It's pretty simple. It's common knowledge how to put an end to the bloodlines doing this. It's don't have sex with them. Don't be a loser. Don't go around having sex with trash. Don't breed with trash. Don't talk to trash. Don't associate with trash. Boycott, divest, and sanction trash. Even. This is like pretty much called the Book of Common Sense and shit here that he's teaching and shit. You know this when you're a kid. Like, you're in a city who's drugging you and enslaving you and forcing you to date the women. Well, what you do is you boycott them, you divest funds from them, and you sanction them. Isolate them. You remove them from the situation any way you can, and teach the world to do the same. You're setting the example. Not only are you doing it for yourself, but you're setting the example for everyone else to follow and shit. That's why one reason. It wasn't so much, but it's just like I was naturally drawn towards other nations' music because I was more talented when I was younger. I was drawn to it because it was more talented, but it was also talking to me. It was talking to me about some of this shit. Some of their music talks about this shit. You guys might know a guy named Farg. I wouldn't say I trust him. I shouldn't drop that name. The guy who said shit back then, he magically died. Corthon died when he was like, what was it, 26 or 36? Real early for a person, but it wasn't. It was actually kind of old for a person saying the words he did, because he said a few words there about the Holy Roman Emperor invading and killing his people in Europe and building churches over their temples after they destroyed them, and then he dies. So. He's the only one who made good music back then. Black metal was shitty music. You knew it would be good one day, but it was just shitty music. And he made some sort of Viking metal shit. Anyways, so yeah, you can see some people have been visited by this ghost of knowledge and taught shit, and then you can see some of them get killed. And you can see they're actually writing down. Everyone's favorite book is that they're going to torture and kill someone who is speaking against the Holy Roman Emperor. The Holy Roman Emperor wrote a book saying that they're going to torture and kill anyone who's talking about him, and you're going to worship being tortured and killed and bathe in the blood of the people who are talking about it. So there you go. The only thing to ever explain why there's 1,000 gods on the planet. I remember in the 80s, I was dropped that information. I don't really listen to history or news, but I remember at some point in the 80s, I was dropped that information that when the Italians would go into a new area, a new city, they would merge the two religions, and that was why religions. That's why there's 10 million different one true gods on the planet. Was because each time they would do this, they would use a mind control game by saying, "Oh, you like the color blue? Well, my God used to like the color white, but for you, he likes the color blue. And so my God is part of you." And then, the new religion is a blue Smurf God. Yeah. So there you go. Pretty simple, very simple. And this is why you get that weird feeling every time one of these other characters are bringing up delusional shit, because you are being warned that this is a predator. And there's a reason why they will even be the ones they explain to you what the slippery slope is, because he's forcing them to tell you who they are while they're doing it and shit. And they know the slippery slope because they are the slippery slope, But Lindsey Graham knows the slippery slope because he's slipping all the time on the floor at the gay bar when someone accidentally spills a drink and he's not watching where he's walking. So it's a slippery slope for him because there are people done invented that, and they know exactly where it's going to lead them and shit. And that's why they stick with it, because it leads to exactly where they want to go. There's nothing wrong with the slippery slope, is there? Skiers love skiing down. Cocaine Biden loves skiing down the slopes and stuff. Slopes are fun I like slippery. I got a slippery floor area right here. I like to do ballet type moves on and shit. Cause it helps me, the slippery slope helps me, less friction. And that's very good for Lindsey Graham, less friction. You can damage yourself if there's too much friction at the gay bar and stuff, You gotta keep lubed up and stuff, Anyway, so yeah, and that makes sense too when he's explaining why he's having them explain who they are before they do who they are. There's no explanation for why he's having them explain all that and then lie and say they aren't that. But maybe it's a fun little game they're setting up, right? Fun little game and shit. You become like, you see, I don't have to go to school and be a rocket science. I could have stayed at home and done that. I actually did work with some of that, and they tried to force more in my life while I'm at home in the 80s, 90s. So, you don't have to go to school to learn some shit, to sound intelligent. The playing field's set up where if you don't go to school, you won't sound stupid. So there can be benefits here by not. You don't have to spend 30 years. If you spend 30 years in school, something's wrong with you. You don't have to spend like 10 years in school to be like king of the world. You can pretty much not do anything at that point, allowing this Holy Roman character, invader characters to spread their lies, right? You don't have to do anything to prove you're better than Trump and stuff. If you don't do anything at all, you don't talk, you don't say anything, you don't move, you don't go anywhere, you are already in the position of a king. So there is that one benefit right there to it, which is not really a consolation prize or anything. It's like, doesn't matter anyways, because there they are, and they've already, I'm sure everyone else, they've already rigged their way into their lives. And they're on all four corners of the globe right now, and they've actually They are the only people up there by Alaska and shit. So it's like, there's no one else up there with them. Fucking, so, yeah, literally at all four corners of the globe and shit. So, anyway, there you go. The real God will explain to you why there's 1,000 other gods, and the fake gods will ignore that and create little limericks and deceptive words to skirt the issue. And you can clearly see that these are repeat patterns, like a gerbil just goes all day. These things just go skirting the issue through their genetic bloodlines for centuries and shit. And it's very simple to see. Obviously, Kipakatu has said that they have invented lies about things like that not existing, but Kipakatu also points out that they had to invent controlled opposition atheism in science to claim it does exist in something called DNA code. But you can also see this by watching a person have a child. You can see the child is the exact same thing the parents are. My ex had 2 kids who are considered mentally retarded with someone else, and that makes sense because if you met them, you would know. That's what it produces. My husky came from a wolf and a husky, right? Makes sense. It's a wolf and a husky. It's fucking husky. And it's a giant fucking wolf. And it acts exactly like it. You know, it's like a tiger. It's the king of the jungle and shit. It knows it's the king of the jungle and doesn't care what you think about it. Fucking, just like a fucking wolf's going to act if you meet a wolf. You know, just like a husky's gonna act if you meet a fucking husky. Why doesn't it act like a pit bull? It's screaming all the time and barking, woof, 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 because it doesn't do that. A wolf and a husky doesn't have to scare you with a woof woof. It's gonna sneak up on you and you're dead. You're its meal. It's actually going to do something. So that's its personality. And well, a little yapper dog isn't going to be able to do anything. So it's constantly yapping, woof 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 woof, fucking to try to protect itself because or get attention, get someone to touch it. Get some old lady to pet it. You know, and then what other dogs you got? You got the golden retriever. Its children are going to do what? Their golden retriever's children are going to sit around and wag its head back and forth and wag its tail in the opposite direction while it's doing that. And then it's going to look at you like it's all happy and excited. And it's going to do a little circle dance. How do you know the husky, the golden retriever's puppy is going to do that? It's all a unique child, ain't it? How do you know that's going to happen? Oh my God. But you go find one and you'll figure out I'm right. Huh. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting fucking. Anyway, so there we go. But he said, pay attention that they're creating both sides, that they've created both sides and a third position, which is that one. And then pay attention when their lies oppose each other, that instantly that person and everything they're saying is discredited and should be removed from your society. Not allowed in it. But he's also telling me, see, the problem here is that hasn't been done. So that is why things are the way they are, because, the Holy Roman Emperor comes, the Italians come with their religions, and then, everyone's like, ooh, oh, free stuff. It actually tells me they probably killed all the strong people and they raped all the cucks. So that might have, I turned the husky half Chihuahua when, if there was ever a husky population out there, a wolf population, when the Chihuahua army led forth from Italy, there was enough of them, like the hyenas, 27 of them can take out a tiger and shit. And the tiger knows that. You can tell by watching the tiger knows, so it has to get up and fucking defend itself and shit again. Because here come these losers and their gang again. Fucking yipping and yapping and shit. Fucking. So, yep, pretty simple to see, ain't it? Pretty obvious to see what's going on. I don't know about you, but I get that premonition shit. So sometimes before people talk to me, I can sense them behind me and be like, oh, this motherfucker's here to beg for crack money and shit because he's with an alien network who's trying to rob me. Or, oh, it's just a standard person walking by, listen to headphones, and I turn around, they either got the headphones on, or here they come like, hey, I haven't eaten in an hour. It doesn't matter if you haven't eaten in all week, if you rarely ever eat, but I haven't eaten in an hour. Hey. Fucking, no, it's not for drugs. Ever get those premonitions when people are like, oh, I need some money now. And you're like, is that for you? Like, you're thinking like, that could be drugs. It seems like this person's like coming down really hard from good drugs, and they're becoming violent and psychotic, because that's the opposite of, it's the rebound from feeling good. It's violent and psychotic. And then, you ever get that? I sometimes get that premonition, don't you? When someone like, you're like walking down the road, and then someone's like, oh, you're like trying to walk around someone because you're walking for a purpose. You're not walking because you're a grasshead. You're not walking because you're a grasshead. Fucking, and then they're like, you're trying to walk around them, and they're like, I'm right here. Stop. I'm really busy. We're going places in this world. I need some money I need some money. You want to donate? You ever have that happen and shit? You get that premonition that a person's a predator and shit, because that's what a predator does, is like jump in front of you, and that's what a rapist does, is force you to communicate with them in a manner. Rape is forced physical communication. That's what it's labeled as, and you can see there's no the precious rapist of the Holy Italian Empire have made sure there is a new word to describe rape through language and shit. Rape. There is no word describing forcing a man's value out. They only value women because they're stupid and they make good tools. And they're very loyal and obedient to money and homosexuals. Because both those things allow them to control other things in the world and have no detrimental effect, immediate effect on their well-being, even though they got a right in their books to have children, remind themselves to get with the opposite sex and have children, or there will be no more fun times for no one on the planet. He explains that too. He explains how that works, how there's certain people on the planet you have to tell things like that to, because they're not interested in those things. So you have to tell them constantly, you should date the other sex, because there'll be no more children, and there'll be no more invasions, and there'll be no more men to fuck if we're not having children. So we must do this. It was like Caesar himself, the Holy Roman emperors would go around fucking all the men they conquered, and if someone didn't remind them to have sex with a woman, then they would be gone. All the people they conquered would be the only people left. So they would have to have sex with the women and shit. And so someone has to write that down and tell them to do that. He pointed out that you have to do that in those situations and shit. Just like you have to have two intelligent people have sex with each other in order to produce intelligent people. You have to have two huskies have sex in order, male and female, not male and male. Huskies are definitely going to be big on that shit too. They're a little off and shit. They don't seem like they're there, and it just seems like a walking walking murder machine with. It's like a gerbil, but giant. Fucking. That's real close to that. Really close to that. So you have to make sure your huskies breed to have more husky type shit. Fucking, he points out that would be the reason why some of the people have had to reaffirm, like Lindsey Graham, good example, right? You have to tell Lindsey Graham, hey, you need to get a wife, because you're going to die off if you don't go find a woman to have sex with, and stop having sex with men at least for this one time, and have sex with a woman. So Lindsey Graham needs a book telling him to do that shit, because it's not going to happen, fucking. Anyway, so good. Great, amazing talk, fucking right. And haters gonna hate, because that's all I can do. Very limited personalities. People can only do what they know. And but again, you don't have to have haters around you, except for the Holy Italian Empire is forcing, they're the most hateful people on the planet. And they're forcing, along with their, co-joined with the pyramid people. They have combined to spread their hate throughout the world, and so you got to watch for that, because, as you know, the Holy Italian Empire has they form armies and shit like that, and then they bring those armies into your nation, and they force you to hate them and hate like them and shit if you're a cuck. And so you kind of have that being forced in your life. Like, I didn't ask to learn any of this. I had haters teaching me who they are. I had people sliding down the slopes, teaching me about the slippery slopes and shit. The joy of learning, right? The joy of Earth. You're here to learn. It's trash. and what the trash is up to, and the trash is gracious trash who forces you into school classes so you can learn the correct definition of what flavor and scent and type of trash they are. And, the joy of learning from trash ourselves what trash can do and what trash is up to, and how to define it properly. And even though, you'll never be able to put it to use because trash owns all the media, and trash is the only people who talk. People aren't trash, aren't talking anyways. And they don't have time to listen. Fucking. So a couple who else told me that try to have some fun. Don't take it seriously. Don't participate in it. That's the last thing. It says that's a lie from the Holy Italian Empire, is that you have to do anything and take any of this seriously and shit. So that's the first lie, is they come into your nation and they say you gotta wash their feet and lick their feet, and you don't have to do anything and shit. And it's tough shit for someone else when you don't want to wash their feet, right? Now, if they get violent, a couple caught two warns that if you erase the problem, they have armies, and you must be prepared for this. They don't like their violence being interrupted with violence against them because they're weak sissies who cry and think they're the greatest thing on the planet and their life has value, and they're really sensitive, Lindsey Graham type people, very sensitive and whiny, and so you always got to watch out for that, and deal with it properly, and have a bug out bag, have some graves, have some deep plots dug in your backyard big enough to fit a couple people, and some pigs on hand helps, and a pig farm. Pig farm works excellent, supposedly. I've never done it, but I hear it works. And obviously you got to be good at math and logic. So other than that, they might be able to figure something out if you got to deal with one of the problems that they're creating and shit. And he's not big on the sit around and hope the trash dies off and the world becomes a better place, because he's more of a realist who doesn't talk about invisible cartoon characters and comic books and shit. And he talks about how they started as a small group in Rome, in Italy, and Egypt, and then they combined Egypt, Rome, Italian, or Palestinians, and then now they are all the way to every corner of the map. So, he likes to point out logic that the problem isn't solving itself, because it's them telling you the problem's going to solve itself, and to sit around and do nothing while they rape and invade and enslave and make up a whole bunch of false gods and religions that are just racial supremacy in disguise and shit. There was Kebukatu points out that there was no one cared about racial supremacy in the past, because there was lots of land, and because it was common that, if I have children and a wife who I like, they're infinitely more valuable than a stranger. So that's not like supremacy. That's I chose someone to be around, and I'm trying to actively keep out some sort of deranged crackhead who is threatening to kill me if I don't give him crack money. and I will actively get rid of anyone in my family, my children or my wife, if somehow they end up like that. Obviously, the wife would be my choice. I'm the one who wants that in my life. So what would happen is if I had chose that and then I'm like, oh, I don't like it, then, that's because I not only chose that, but I wanted to whine about shit and have something to whine about. That's just a personality type. Just because a person, as you can see on Earth, tons of problems. Most people don't want them solved. Half the people don't want them solved. Some people just want something to whine about. Like, it gives them great joy to have anything in their life because they're too lazy to go pick up something off the ground and put that in their life instead. So you can just make up a whine really fast and shit. And that's a real quick way to fill the coffers. Some people like invisible coins. Some people like invisible gold bars. Nothing wrong with that. Some people want real gold bars, and about the same thing. They want to fill their coffers with something. Anyway, so there we go. Yeah, amazingness. Greatness. Wouldn't it be great to have someone like me on TV and talking with these other fucking morons? Shut them down real fast. Isn't that crazy? There's no world leaders who have ever brought up most of this shit to any of them, as if they're all working together, which is weird because they're all using the same gang signs. So they're all using the same racial supremacy signs. Maybe that's the reason why most of them never bring up anything. Russia brought up a couple things, but it's like they still got the gang sign. You can tell, like, going to their site that for English people that they're on board with them and shit, and they're part of it. And that's what they did, right? That's what the Roman Catholics did. That's literally where the Roman Catholics went. They changed their name to Christians going to the Northeast. But that is what they wrote in their book to do, is say they're different people. And once Rome collapsed because everyone knew they were all the Romans, and they were tired of the Italians coming into their neighborhood and raping them and forcing them to be around them and hear their bullshit. And then apparently they re-devised the plan there, and their new plan was to say, I'm not a Roman, at least for half the earth, because you can see that up to Russia, the warpath up to Russia, they still call themselves the Holy Roman Empire, right? So, and you can see America still has some of that, but America has a problem where someone had a thought one day and they had to invent a whole bunch of different ideas. They had to kill everyone in North America. That's right. They had to kill everyone in North America because they're like, nah, you can go home. This isn't your land. We don't like your people. And they're like, nah, the reason you don't like us is because we're going to kill you if you don't do everything we say. So, what that means, right? And they're like, yeah, well, okay, have at it. Kind of like they did when Columbus went down to, when Chris Rothschildus went down to fucking South America, and they got that church built upon 200,000 corpses. Those people must have been better warriors, though, because they scared them off at some point. They killed like 200,000 people and just threw the corpses in a pile. I mean, that's all you're supposed to do. Burying people is really Nazi ego shit. Fucking That's just desperate narcissists who, and probably started with, it started with Cleopatra, didn't it? Like, and people thinking that their leaders are so great they should be preserved forever. And losers obsessed with life who think life is so great they want to live forever and shit, think they're so great they should be living forever, and so fucking the Holy Roman Empire. I wonder where they buried Kaiser and shit. They probably got some big mansion on their Rothschild Boulevard or something where he's at. Fucking, they probably got some fancy Mausoleum. Obviously, I know the name's Mausoleum. I'm just calling it mansion because it probably is more like a mansion than a standard Mausoleum. But, yeah, so fucking there we go. If your God isn't explaining to you why there's 1,000 other gods, now he can tell you there's other gods, but you see, the thing is you have to educate your people. Unless you're trying to deceive them, you gotta educate them on what's happening. That way they can't associate and see what they're going to do is everyone donating to Easter right now is blaming invisible people who don't exist for bombing Iran. But you can see that, as I said in 1986, those people are going to bomb Iran in 2026. How did I know that? Well, it's because they were already doing it. Very simple. And then their game is to say some invisible people who walk around with their hair like this and shit fucking are, hair like this are not even that good looking, right? I can't do it. My hair just doesn't look that bad. Fucking, I can't do it. I can't, it won't even hold a curl. I can't even begin to do it. Fucking, whatever Einstein looks like, right? Fucking, and blaming people who look like that for everything on the planet when you've only met one person who looks like that. Fucking, met one person who looked like that in my life. But everyone's blaming that person, and that person definitely, like, if we got a room of everyone I know, that's the person raping animals. I think we'd all agree. And if you were friends with him, he would tell you he was doing that too. He felt safe in telling people that. So there is that fact, but there is also the fact that that was the only person in that city, and even Jeffrey Epstein didn't look like him. That was Jeffrey Epstein's city, so. But even Epstein doesn't look like him, so everyone's busy pointing at these cartoon characters that don't exist and blaming giant bunnies for bombing the Middle East and shit like that, when in fact it's actually people doing that many bomb. They siphon and fucking $20 billion a day recently for bombing campaigns. So, a person makes let's say a person makes $100 a day. Probably a little more than the average person. You make like 70 a day. Fucking if that, right? If that fucking let's say $100 a day. So that's $700. Let's go by day. Let's say it's $20 billion a day for the bombing campaigns that they're siphoning, and so that, how many people does that take to give that type of work? Now you only get 10% of the pay directly to the government and 10% to the church, and then 10 to 30% to Easter campaigns, which are only every 3 months. So let's say 30% of that money every 3 months, 30% when it does happen. That's 10% a month. So we have 10, 10, 10. And most people don't even go to the temple to donate their 10%. So let's just leave that out. We got 10 and 10. We got the government income and we've got buying the Easter supplies. So you have $20 a day. The average person is donating to the bombing campaigns. Now, if it's 20 billion, then that means you have 1 billion people donating daily to the bombing campaigns in order for that to exist. So, of course, what they're saying is that there's this invisible guy, Jeffrey Epstein, no one's ever met. I've never met Epstein. I've never even met Waxner and shit. Supposedly my dad did, but at this point in time, we don't trust everything. We don't trust anything we hear. So we went and picked up money from a drop-off spot from him. That's the closest. And then I've been around certain other people who were obviously, that one dude might have been fucking Epstein. He was real close, but they all look like the same person, so I don't think so. It's very slight variations, and there was, but that could be the same variation that 10, 20 years causes. I think that was, 97 when I directly met one of the people I was working for. Generally, I didn't meet the people I was working for because they were doing their things, and I was running parties to, like Jeffrey Epstein held concerts for children to come to, music concerts like Backstreet Boys, Madonna, and shit like that. So we never actually seen those people don't show up to those events. The events are for to reward the good workers. We were the people who worked for. We rewarded the workers and shit, or baited the children. I worked. Generally, I was working. We were. It was for all the people below him. Directly below him. Like the fact that my dad and me weren't members of the party was simply because that was our job, was to do those events in specific and shit, nothing else, not media campaigns or any, or toilet. That'd be way below. They'd outsource out to someone else. And they wouldn't get paid very as much as others unless they got tips too. But anyway, so yeah, you can see that would take 1 billion people if this current bombing campaign, and this is one bombing campaign, and they're invading how many other nations, and they're enslaving the entire nation. They're enslaving each other inside America. So not only are they suppressing China and trying to prevent people from buying better goods from China, but better technology from China, because they're racist haters, losers who can't achieve more, and are trying to suppress better people than them. That campaign right there probably costs like $1 billion, easy to run, right? But then there's wars. They just seized a Venezuelan tanker recently. That shit, with all the spy work involved and having soldiers in the street just in case they decide to defend themselves. That probably cost $1 billion on that day to run too. Fucking. The whole. You can tell that they've got a low-key anti-German campaign going on because they're trying to blame Germany for what America's doing in Iran right now. So there's a sort of thing. So, but let's say the bombing campaign is $20 billion a day in Iran, and they've got other little events. Enslaving America is probably like $150 billion. Yeah, that thing's gotta be like fucking, I don't know, a few $100 billion a day campaign to run and shit. Just like the include every aspect of every hospital. How much does that cost to run? Every temple, how much does that cost to run? And then the government oversight, the security and police, the judicial system. The police have the temple badges on themselves and the cars, so include their salary, because that's so important to them that they name themselves after it. They're not the peacekeeper system, they're not the peace-issue system, they're not the help-issue system, they're not the government-issue system. They're mostly funded, so that probably costs, what, $300 billion a day to run. So let's say, so for the $200 billion a day, or $20 billion a day bombing runs, fully campaign with the forces surrounding them to make sure that they don't retaliate. And while that's also when you invade too, because while you're destabilizing them, you move in. You bomb the house and you shoot the people coming out of it. So it's more than just the mega expensive $5 a gun powder that they're blowing up. $20 billion canisters of explosives and shit. Fucking, it's more than that. So it takes a lot of people to do that. So if they're all donating $20 a day, it's at least $1 billion for the bombing runs daily. And then the rest of it, it's probably $30 billion to maintain. Yeah, see, those numbers are a little large, but you see. But look at the world. There's 8 billion. Fucking wow. Maybe I'm overshooting, but it takes a lot. All I know is I've never met a person who said anything about it who was a man, or wasn't on that side who was a man, and then the other ones are doing the soft propaganda. Not all of them. Anyone, I don't know many people for more than a few months who aren't guys. Anyways, very expensive. So that early shit, if your God ain't telling you why he invented 1,000 other gods, then I think he's lying. I think that's a person making up gods who don't exist. Which of the 1,001 true gods are real? Well, it's not an idiot, right? God doesn't create idiots. That's going to be on their half and shit, right? That's going to be their decision to take their reading and writing skills to dumb themselves down, and so they can convince a woman. Make a woman stupid enough to be around them, or a man. A large portion of these people are trying to convince men to be their partners, and that takes a lot more work than convincing a woman to be your partner, because that's not how things work. That's how the Italians work when they invade with the Holy Roman Catholic Church type shit. But there you go. That's the truth. And the reason you don't hear is because they're scared of it. It doesn't work. The campaign doesn't work. Every one of their little lies doesn't fall into place and shit. And every one of their lies must remain in place because it falls apart. And each little step is like points directly to the center of it. And then you just get enough information, you get enough evidence gathered that you know that that's the only thing happening and shit. That's the only purpose, is inventing all this bullshit and stuff. Fucking, you end up knowing every word they say is a lie, down to them being real and shit. It is real. Like, well, that would be the one true thing they're saying, if there were any truth in anything they were saying. But we're just winging on that one because they're saying their God's name is AI, and the AI generating their media started calling computers AI in 2020. So, anyways, fucking good to see that AI is actually replacing the hero worship at this point, though, because that's a huge hot air talking point from these invaders is their stars. Their star says something and it's so important. That one fat hillbilly got on TV talking about the opioid crisis because he was all famous and shit, and you can tell, like his people are drug addicts and they fucking write songs about it, but he's been on TV with the government saying, Mexicans are filthy because they're bringing drugs over type shit. That's what propaganda leads to and shit. Anyways, so that's the trash we're dealing with here on Earth. And you're going to need a giant trash fire if you ever expect it to change. Other than that, benefit and profit and work for it. If you're going to work for it, Jeffrey Epstein is the king of the land. Everyone knows that. That's why everyone works for him. Everyone in this city works for him. They don't care. The doctors, work at hospitals named after him. They don't care. They work for him. They go to churches knowing that they're working with those hospitals to perform pedophilia mutilation. They don't care. They think they're getting their 10 cents back on the dollar when they donate $1 to go bomb Iran and shit, right? This is the way they're seeing it. And that's just the way people are. People are literally having kids that have slaves. That's how much they care about you. So if they can pay someone to go bomb someone and steal their shit, or if they can pay someone to bomb someone to keep their gas prices down, they'll gladly do that. They literally will. Their brains don't work. They don't understand math. They'll spend 18 years raising a kid hoping they get $1 back one day. They overlook the other things. They're just like, I could get $1 back. If I have a kid, I could put that kid to work. That's again, and then everyone else is like, that's a good idea. Wow, I never thought of that. If we have kids, we can have them clean the house. We can have them go collect money. We can have them go kill people and die for it, and take. But one of their friends might survive and bring back $5 and shit. That seems to be a thing on people's minds, and it does work, right? It does work until everything's out. Like when the Roman Empire ran out of resources, it worked until that, right? Until they ran out of places to loot. It worked for them, It's why we know who they are. That's why they got statues, because they got all this money that they were stealing and shit. And so they got statues, and they're famous, and everyone's goal in life to be famous so they can have any man or woman they want sleep with them, fucking, and wash their feet for them at any time they want. Fucking go down in history, they call it. Don't you want to be remembered? It's like, well, I'm going to be dead. I'm not going to remember anything. I'm not going to know if anyone remembers me. And no one's going to remember me, because there's only one person. There's only 5 people in the world anyone knows, and that's Caesar and Cleopatra. And that's it. The only 2 people we have evidence existed in the world that anyone knows about is Caesar and Cleopatra. So, and some of us know Mozart from 200 years ago. But his family don't get a dime from that. So that's Caesar talk, right? Don't you want to be known? Obviously, Caesar's the only person everyone even knows the name of. No one knows anyone else. You can't get 10 people in a room and then who's fucking Elizabeth Bathory? Ooh, wow. Wow, who cares? No one cares. No, you see, you got to realize that mindset right there is the mindset of a person who's not going to remember anything about you. That person is obsessed with getting you to know them so they can benefit while they're alive. And they're not going to remember you when you die. And you're not going to remember them. The only people everyone remembers is Cleopatra and Caesar, and that's because their people own all these nations and they're forcing everyone to talk about them constantly and shit. And using them as scapegoats too to say, oh, well, these people used to do that and they were our enemies and we aren't them. No, the Roman Catholic Church is not the Romans. No, this trash America terrorist nation with the Egyptian bird god pyramid on it is not the Egyptian bird god people. No, not at all. That's the only reason you really even know those names is because, and not because they're special and they killed a lot of people and raped and enslaved most of the planet. You don't even know those people because of that. You wouldn't know them because they were the greatest at what they did. No one would know their names if they weren't being used as invisible Satan goat. You know, to write off what they've done and continue to do, and their genetic code will always do, and point the fingers and say, it wasn't me, it was that goat. You wouldn't even know Cleopatra and Kaiser from their work. So that's so stupid when a loser enslaver tries to convince you to enslave yourself and then by saying, well, what do you want the world to remember you for? Yeah, that's a sign of a narcissist right there. Anyone who cares anything about the world remembering anything about them. That's a sign of a sick person too, because they either like Earth enough that they want people to remember them there, or they're a narcissist. And obviously you have to be a narcissist to get there. No one in the world. You got Mozart, Einstein never did shit, never said shit. It's just their people saying Hitler is the greatest ever. Right? That's all that is. It's the reverse. It's the new Einstein, the nuclear. Back then, Einstein and Cleopatra were the greatest things ever. But then the other 90, everyone else on the planet disagreed and then killed them off. So they actually thought they were the worst people on the planet. So after that happened, Einstein started promoting that those are Satan, the invisible evil goats who rule the planet. And Cleopatra and Kaiser's grandson Einstein figured out if you just, actually the Pope would have been the one who figured this out, right? The Roman Pope. If you just say, hey, I'm not those people, then all of a sudden people will be like, oh, maybe it's not those people. Well, we should give them the benefit of the doubt and trust them. And the next thing you know, they killed your family and now they're raping your wife. And so that's the only reason anyone knows anyone on this planet. There's Mozart, but not everyone knows Mozart. Everyone knows Cleopatra and Kaiser and shit, right? And the only reason everyone knows them is because they're scapegoats, not because they were excellent. No one remembers Kaiser as the ultimate warrior and who killed all them homos and raped all them fucking loser men who didn't know the joy of gay sex. No one remembers him as that. They remember him as the trash no one wanted. But what it really is it's his children saying, we're not them. Follow us. Einstein, the Pope's like, that's not me. Worship me as God, like you did Cleopatra and Caesar. Right? That's what they've done. That's what their religion is telling you. Literally, it says, right, that's the point. That's where the word Satan comes from. They're inventing the idea that something around them, in this case, in every case, it's always one of them, is the only evil thing on the planet. And so they're out there running their mouths 24/7 about how great they are, because just like that piece of shit Caesar and Cleopatra did, their parents, that's just what their parents did. Pieces of shit walking the planet telling everyone they're great and they gotta have sex with them and give them everything they own. And then what is Einstein doing? What is Donald Trump doing? What is the Pope doing? And shit, what are all these groups doing? What are the people, what are the bums out on the corner doing when they're demanding you worship the not Romans? They're telling you how fucking great they are, and you need to worship them and give them all your money, or else they're going to torture you. Exactly like their genetic code from Father Caesar and Mother Cleopatra did to all the rest of the people on the planet. Tell these are genetic codes, because I'm not born with that code. I'm born with the ability to understand you probably have to do certain things at certain points in time, but definitely I'm lacking, the Chihuahua is begging for attention. It's like Kaiser and Cleopatra. But it lacks the ability to hold a sword and shit, so it's not going to get very far when it meets a wolf or a husky or a tiger, right? So, but in the human world, someone can organize a wall of swords and shit, and put a mask on so you don't, put a crusader helmet on so you can't see who's behind the mask and shit. Keep you guessing who it is, and then make up words. Barky dog could have the husky go tell you, oh, it's not barking, it's not really barking, you're just hearing stuff and you need drugs to fix your brain, type shit. Animals can't do that, or we know hyenas would do shit like that. We know mosquitoes would have better fucking networking. They're already pretty superior. I don't even think they need to they just breed, and they're everywhere, aren't they? They don't even need to organize. They're just mindlessly chaos fucking parasites. And it works excellent for them and shit. Anyways, fucking excellentness. I'm so glad I get to be born on a planet where we get to figure out all these cool riddles. Oh, isn't it great? Isn't it great being born, knowing it? Like, the second someone talks to you, you not only get the premonition, but then the premonition tells you to interrogate them with your first question, and your literacy skill set from going to school, apparently from going to kindergarten, teaches you how to word it so you can get all the answers in one sentence, and then you ask that one sentence, and then you know everything, and then 40 years later, you're like, you gather all the evidence over 40 years, and you're like, look, really? Wow, we've got all this evidence now. Wow. And it's like that time I was forced to go to fucking psychology class to learn about the specific name of the garbage juice around me. And what its specific scent, its specific taste, how its viscosity, the viscosity. Oh, I need psychology to teach me the viscosity of trash, of the garbage juice. Is it leaky garbage juice or is it sludgy garbage juice? Oh, ooh, so important. No way I could assume that this religion of science and atheism was trash itself from trying to convince me that, well, forcing me to be around it constantly. Unwanted, don't like them. I call it kill their fucking children all the time. Erase the bloodlines from the planet. Fucking. But I guess Kaiser has no friends. And he's a homosexual. And that means he's filled with estrogen, which fries your brain and makes you like a chihuahua or I don't know any other dog world things. Fucking. So I always have to go back to, I think that's it, it's like the gerbil and shit. Like the gerbil is like, the gerbil is the gerbil. It's a very unique character upon the planet and shit. The husky is like the gerbil, but it's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex at the same time. So it's somewhere between the two. Fucking. But the husky will kill everything in its path, and it won't even know. You won't even know. You'll just be like, it's so cute and fun, and then it'll be like, woof, 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 woof. And we all covered in blood and have a fucking human arm bone sticking out of its throat. It's still trying to choke on, but it doesn't really care because it's half retarded, and it's just trying to go without even choking it up. It's like, and expecting it. Not even caring it's there. It's doing what it does, It's gerbilized and shit. Fucking. Seems to be some of that shit that's going on here is I'm getting an idea that some of the software designing these characters are the same software being put in animals and shit. So you can tell that the trees and the plants have the same structure sometimes and shit, and they meld and converge, and that's what makes it look like there's different plants as it's just taken two and given 30% here, 70% here, 70% here, 30% here, and magically you got 4 plants instead of 2. And you just combine it 10 million times, and now you've got 20 million plants instead of 2. And you're like, wow, it's so different and unique. It's so hard to see, isn't it? Fucking, it's so hard to see, isn't it? The difference between a tree and between moss and algae and shit. Fucking, or the likeness between it. Anyway, so yeah, if your God didn't explain to you why he didn't create 10,000 gods, it's because your God isn't a God. Your God is humans using religion to enslave you.